Right, good evening here from Tumut in New South Wales, and I'm Tony Bosworth, and we're going to continue with the blockbuster story, The Astrakhan's Feather. I realised today I'd actually written this 10 years ago, can you believe? It's ludicrous. A little bit sobering that was, really, I suppose. Anyway, let's carry on. So basically, Karen Allen, who's acting inspector at Bone Mountain, because Steve Christ, the actual inspector, is off on sick leave after the death of his wife, and we still don't know the reason for that. She has gone into the offices of the local paper, The Record, because she missed Holly Dreyfus, who's the reporter and daughter of the owner, Armand Dreyfus. I know it's a lot of characters. Stick with it. And she meant to have a coffee with her, but by the time she finished in the police station, the cafe is closed. So she goes into the Records office and she finds a printing press and meets Holly there and Will Maguire, who is a young lad who looks after the press, really, and, well, basically runs it. So we'll continue. I'll probably praise a little bit of it, but I've been reading it through. I think it reads well, okay? Why don't you tell me what you think, even if you think it's rubbish? Yeah, make a comment, and subscribe. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Karen follows Holly into a space literally inside the guts of the printing press where William Maguire had appeared from. The giant boy followed them silently into a matte black metal room open both sides and with no roof. The matte black press towered over them. A large table. I know, matte black, too much there, isn't it? This is a repeat. It's what we in journalism call an echo. So you try and get rid of it. So we won't do that again. I will get rid of it. A large table in the centre of the room is tilted at an angle, split in two by wooden battens to form two distinct but identically sized frames. Large green Bakelite shade lamps bathe the table with stark white light that nothing can hide from. The sort of light you'd find in an autopsy room, Karen thinks, with a chilly shiver of remembrance, born of long nights in London, where she'd often have to sit in as pathologist Dr. Jill Anderson diced and sliced, as she put it. This is actually true how it's set up. When I started in journalism back in the late 70s, this is how papers were put together, right? There was no digital stuff. There was no digital stuff. There was nothing along those lines. So they had to use hot metal, which is what they use in here. Holly says this is set up for broadsheet size, so big sheets of paper, not your tabloid. Karen nods, looks at two large shelves of small boxes face on, each about the size of sections in a women's trinket box. There must be 100 boxes neatly arranged in the large frames. It's all right, I haven't had a stroke. I was just trying to pick it up where I am. Holly says it's a hot metal press, so this is where you pick your letters and numbers and punctuation. You'll find they're all here. Holly reaches into one of the open-faced boxes, picks up a small piece of metal, a letter F glows dully in her hand. This is lowercase and it's a 12-point size, but there are caps there too, of course, she says, plus your full points, commas, etc., and different sizes of type for headlines and subheads. William sets a hot metal. He's our compositor. I'll tell you what, this system was ludicrous. It was so time-consuming, and everything had to be set backwards, like in a mirror, right? A mirror image. These guys were really skilled, but now they just don't exist, right? They just don't exist. That job doesn't exist in that same way, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. But anyway, in Bone Mountain, they're persevering with hot metal, let me tell you. He gets his sketch of what goes where, says Holly. Editorial and sometimes adds too, depending on which page it is, from me before press day. It's called a flat plan. That's what we use now still. He gets a printout of the stories going in. He sets the hot metal up. He's just set the front page, so just a back page to do now on one inside section of 8 before we roll. Newspapers and magazines are set in sections of 4. Sections of, that's 4 pages. Sections of 8 are more economical. If you can do a 16, that's even better. Obviously, sometimes you can't. But anyway, it's sections of 4. That's how it works. Holly says, William, you want to show the lady how it's done? Will Maguire smiles bashfully, walks to the table, picks a sheet up, clips it in place on a reading board. He scoops a handful of fine sand from a bucket down by the side of the tilted desk, rubs his hands together as if he was washing them. He scoops up another handful of sand and with one smooth movement sews it flat and smooth in the left-hand wood frame. That's what they used to do. He picks up a wooden stick. This may be too much for some of you, right, who don't want to know how an old newspaper was put together. If you don't, move on, just fast forward it a bit, right? Probably about half a minute, right? Anyway, he picks up a wooden stick with a scraper end and quickly and efficiently smooths the sand flat. He looks at Holly's sheet, eyes racing over one line to the next. He goes to the open boxes, quickly picks large letters first. He places them in the frame on the left, takes a wafer-thin piece of metal from a tray and places that between a row. It's true. Why do I keep saying that? It's all true, okay? And he gently taps it in place with a rubber mallet. That's a shim, says Holly. I call her Holy there. Let me just put another L in. Careless, Tony, careless. That's a shim, says Holly. Different sizes depending on the line spacing. William Maguire begins to work quickly and methodically, and Karen can't take her eyes off the big boy's fluid movements. It's graceful. Within a minute or two, he set the first page and moved on to the second in the right-hand frame. Karen steps forward and looks at the type. She can't make any sense of it at all. It's backwards, says Holly, like a mirror image. So when it's inked and then placed in the press and then stamps down on the paper, it's the right way. Karen shakes her head. So he has to lay all the words backwards. Yeah, just like it's in a mirror. It's a skill for sure. How'd he learn? William's a blur of movement as he places a type for the back and last page of the paper in the second frame. Holly smiles softly at William as his arm muscles flex. It's not a sexual thing, okay? Everybody's arm muscles flex. He was kind of born into it, she tells Karen softly. He's always been here. Of course there's a story behind it. Of course there is. The quick clink of the letters as they're placed, the rasp of the sand and the soft thump of the rubber mallet are almost hypnotic. Karen nods at the work. Surely it can all be computerised now. That will be both cheaper and quicker and less mess too, no? Holly gives her a quizzical look. Why'd we want to put someone like William out of work? She sniffs. Too much of that going on all over the place. Karen looks at her, not expecting something like that to come out of this young girl's mouth, but she understood. You could throw out a lot in the name of progress and so-called efficiency. In the police force, end of the day, it was people like her who solved crimes, not machines. William Maguire rubs his hands clean with new sand, turns to Holly and nods. His thumbs are black. He has a smudge on his face. Right, says Holly, put these on. She hands Karen a pair of bright orange ear protectors and says, let's print this baby. All right, that's where we're going to stay with it. No, we're not. Let me just briefly go on to the next bit, right? Because it's linked to it. Christ raises his head and smiles. The rumble of the record's printing press can be heard and felt through Bone Mountain. It seems to roar into the very fabric of the town and the mountain it stands on. All right, we'll leave it there and then we'll come back to it tomorrow. Please subscribe. Just subscribe. Just press the button. And if you want to make a comment, make a comment, right? Even if it's about the weather, make a comment. It all helps. Anyway, thanks very much. You have a good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. And, yeah, we'll talk again probably tomorrow, I think. All right, thank you. Goodbye.